So in this lesson of Module 3, under the umbrella of navigating staff relationship and staff cultures, this is a big one. And this is one that I think a lot of times in churches we're missing this. And I think if we can get this, the world's going to be a better place. The church is definitely going to benefit. And I believe that God will honor this. And I'm talking about loyalty. I'm talking about honor. Listen, if there's anything a great worship leader encapsulates is being a supportive person to his pastor. And while I'm talking, yes, about our senior pastor, but I'm also talking about loyalty to each other. Loyalty to the team, loyalty to your volunteers, loyalty to the church, loyalty to the staff and the pastors. I'm not talking about not having conflict. I'm not talking about everything's going to be great. All I'm talking about is when conflict arises, and it will, when heads butt, when people disagree on stuff, and it will happen, it might be happening to you right now. The most important thing in the situation is loyalty and honor, because I believe that God honors that, and I believe that that's how we push through, and that's how we really become true Christians. You know, the Bible says that they'll know you for your love for one another. Right. And this is where loyalty becomes huge. And it's the opposite of gossip. When we get the idea of loyalty, the culture that we're a part of, the culture that we are now helping set, is one that is reflective of Jesus, and is one that we will actually achieve vision, and we will actually accomplish what we're trying to do with honor and respect for each other. So that's what we're talking about in this lesson. So I want to read a scripture for us as we're talking about this really important topic. John 17, 22 and 23 says this: I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one. So this is Jesus talking. I and them and you and me, may they be brought to complete unity, to let the world know that you sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me. The Bible talks a lot about the importance of unity, and I believe loyalty is a way that we can attain unity, and it bonds us actually closer together. It helps us get through our trials. It helps us get through our conflicts a lot easier. And at the end of the day, when we're on the battlefield, when we're battling spiritual warfare, we know we got each other's back. And there is nothing better than that.
We're actually going to devote the next entire lesson to this, but I think one thing that is especially important when it comes to worship leaders is, we're talking about staff, but your senior pastor, worship leader relationship. And I think that it's different in many situations for worship leaders and senior pastors than it is for a lot of other staff. Because a lot of times, especially in churches, it seems like in churches in the United States or Western culture, and especially when it comes to more traditional churches, you'll have, and you may be in this situation, you'll have a church that's maybe a little more traditional that wants to reach younger people. Does this sound familiar? And so your church will hire...
We want to reach young people.
Yes, your church will hire a young worship leader, youth pastor, whatever. Because the truth is, like, who is on your platform is who you're going to attract a lot of time. So that maybe that's another lesson. Like, your worship team is all people in their 60s.
Yes.
And you want to hire, or 50s, and you want to reach people that are 18 to 30.
Not going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But so what happens a lot is... you'll have a young person come in because you want to reach young people, but the church is maybe more traditional. And you'll have, what's the word? A dichotomy of ideas coming from the senior pastor and the worship leader. And or maybe the board or whatever. And so a lot of times worship leaders and senior pastors butt heads, and there's like animosity that grows, and sometimes people don't want to, deal with conflict, and so you just let it fester. Anyway, this can be, over time, can build, serious problems into church staff and that relationship, which is extremely important. So don't allow that to happen. Allow honor and love and respect for one another to overcome all of those other things. It's not going to be easy, but it's really important.
So loyalty is not simply saying yes to everything. It's not being a yes man. Matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. Loyalty is about having someone's back. And so we're going to talk about how you can be loyal. So the first point on how to be a loyal staff person, and this is kind of like a ground rule for us at our church, and I love this, and it's the concept of praise in public and confront in private.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody does something good, if you catch somebody doing something good, tell the world.
Yeah.
You know, tell them in front of people, tell them in the microphone. Like, you just want to announce that. You want to bring attention when somebody does something good, or someone makes a great decision, or somebody just consistently knocks it out of the park. You want the world to see you praise them and give them their accolades and encourage them. If you need to confront somebody, it's the complete opposite. You are behind closed doors, you are in private, you're having private conversations. And this is an important thing to understand, because when you start creating these habits, it really helps create unity.
Yeah.
Because the people around you who don't know you, they see that sort of unity. They can get the sense of, man, these people are really on the same page. And it might be that you completely disagree with some of the decisions that are being made, but as far as the public awareness and as far as the outward, all they see is the resolve. All they see is the agreements that you've come to, and you're supporting each other. And this is hard, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not valued in a lot of places.
Yeah.
You know, one example would be just the relationship between the worship leader and the sound guy. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been in awkward situations where a worship leader is just like ripping the sound guy.
From the microphone?
From the microphone, or like, or just be, man, it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a musician, let right now be the last time you ever say something like, man, it just sounds terrible up here in the microphone, or to anyone.
That will make the person running the sound feel like this big in front of everybody.
Well, and the reality is probably not his fault. It's probably your fault. That's the bottom line. You know what? Sing better. Play guitar better. And that's probably... It's not a little reverb is not going to take you from a 2 to a 10. So we just have to really be honest with ourselves, but we protect this. Now when it sounds great, I will say, hey, awesome. Dude, it sounds amazing in here, bro. And then everyone hears that and they're like, wow, yeah, that's cool. But if it sounds terrible, I'm going to the back and I'm like, hey, man, hey, can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah.
Dude, my ears sound really weird. Like, what's going, And what this does is just creates unity. So don't say negative things out loud in public, behind closed doors, over coffee, in the office, or on the phone, or whenever it is, in private, and then praise in public. You'll be amazed. And this also builds culture.
Yeah.
You know, and then you can help other people do that too. You say, hey man, I remember when you said that? Let's not do that.
Yeah.
That's not kind of who we are.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
if you're gonna ask team members not to do it and they see you doing it,
oh, forget it. You're a hypocrite.
They're not gonna follow you.
Yeah. That brings us to our second point, which is eliminate relational triangles. So what is a relational triangle? It's simply this. Brian comes to me and says, hey Fuller, dude, Chaz is like, dude, he's not bringing his A game. And then Chaz comes to me and says, dude, I brought my A game. Brian's crazy. So now I'm talking to Chaz about Brian. I'm talking to Brian about Chaz. That's a triangle, right? So we want to bring everyone together, and we want to say, all right, we're in a room now. It's me, you, and Chaz.
I'm scared of Chaz, and I don't want to talk to him.
Exactly, and that's probably why you should stop talking, because it's like when Susie has a problem with Betty, the very first thing you should do is get Betty and Susan together in a room. Let's talk about it. Yeah. You tell me what the problem is. You tell me, because otherwise it becomes a he said, she said, and again, it creates drama and it creates disloyalty. The moment you start talking to me about someone else who's not here, if I defend you or if I talk bad about them, I'm not being loyal to them.
Right.
So I have to be loyal to them, and I have to be loyal to you. And the only way to do that is to bring everybody together and say, all right, guys, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Let's work this out together.
Yeah. Now we put this in the context of your worship team, but where it really is the rubber really is gonna hit the road is like, you say you're a worship leader and your youth pastor on staff is your buddy. Yeah. Right. And the senior pastor is kind of like in leadership over you, and something happens, and you go to the youth pastor and you're like, hey, the senior pastor did that, like that was crazy. You've created a triangle. Yeah. And so that does not honor your senior pastor. No. Or it could be secretary, it could be a board member. It doesn't matter who. It's like it's really easy to do with people that you become close to on staff. And you can set culture on the other hand. So say your youth pastor buddy comes to you, was like, hey man, senior pastor said this to me, like this is nuts and stuff. And the easiest response to that is to say, well, hey, his office is right down here.
Let's go talk to him.
I know he's free. Why don't we go talk to him?
Yeah.
I'll come with you.
You'll be amazed how many situations that resolves.
That's going to shut.
A famous pastor, I can't remember who it was, said this, and I love it. It said, if they'll talk to you about someone, they'll talk about you.
Right.
And so if someone's complaining to you about somebody, they're going to be complaining to someone else about you.
Right.
And the best way to set that culture is, hey, we're not going to do that here. Let's just go face this head on. Mm-hmm. And that will create a lot of leadership. It'll create a lot of influence. And people will, you'll notice this, people will stop complaining.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to come to you to complain anymore. Because they know if they come to you to complain, they actually have to solve a problem.
Yeah.
They have to solve an issue. So eliminate the relational triangles. The final concept for this being a loyal person is defending each other. Defend your people or your teammate or the soldier in the war next to you. You want to defend them. The people that are on your team, the people that are on your staff, you want to defend them. Meaning you're going to most likely have volunteers on your team that maybe someone in the congregation comes up to you and wants to talk about. I want to, that girl who sang last week, it's like you immediately are faced with the choice, who are you going to defend? Mm-hmm. You should always default to defending the person. It doesn't mean they didn't do something wrong. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're endorsing an action. If someone, because someone might come to you and say, hey, I saw Bobby hit his wife after church, right? You're not going to be like, oh, well, Bobby. You're not going to blindly.
That's a pretty extreme example.
That is an extreme example.
Like, say something disrespectful.
Yeah, I heard. I saw Bobby smoking outside.
Yeah,
or something. Stuff like that. You're not immediately going to just be like, oh no, he would never do that.
Right.
'Cause you don't really know. But what you would say, you know what? That doesn't really sound like the Bobby I know. Mm-hmm. Tell you what, why don't you and I go grab Bobby and let's talk to him?
Yeah.
You want to defend him because that'll shut people up real quick.
Well, it's the triangle thing.
It is. But you want to defend people, but you also want to defend the people above you, so your pastor, so this will happen a lot. You'll be a worship leader and you'll be close with someone in the church and they'll be like, man, that pastor, I don't like these decisions we're making.
Yeah.
And that's a really slippery slope. So immediately you want to defend them. Well, I know our pastor and I know here's the vision and here's why he did this and here's why it's always we, it's not them.
Yeah.
Never refer to your church as they. Like, oh, well, it's us.
It's us. Yeah.
We. Whenever I talk about my church, I always say we. Mm-hmm. If someone comes to me and says, hey, New Hope, doesn't blah, blah, blah. I'll say, well, we, because I am a part of it. And so that right there kind of is creating a team.
Yeah.
So you want to defend up. You also want to defend down, your volunteers and even the people in your church. You want to defend people. You want to be loyal to people and bring people together. And confront these conflicts, not blindly, but just out of loyalty and respect, because you will create an environment that has way less drama.
Yeah, and again, the easiest solution to this, and usually the most effective one, is because it's always like gossip kind of stuff.
Most of the time it is.
And it's people that don't really want to confront conflict, but they want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so they'll find somebody, and if you're close with somebody, maybe they'll come to you and they'll say, so-and-so did this, I don't like this, whatever. The easiest thing for you to do, especially in a leadership position, is to say, this person's right over here. Let's go talk to him about it. Let's set up a meeting. Let's all get in a room and talk about this. Mm-hmm. That's also the biblical model of conflict resolution. In Matthew 18, you can go read it. It's at 15 through 17.
Yep.
It lays out the way to resolve conflict, and the first thing is to confront the person.
That's right.
One-on-one.
Go to your brother.
And talk about it. It's not to talk to other people about it. That's like the last thing you should do.
Yeah.
And if somebody's doing that to you, what we should do, according to the Bible, is point them into this resolution type of thing. It also makes me think about this, Fuller. Doing church would be so easy if it weren't for the people. I know, right?
It's the darn people. So that's it about being loyal, learning the culture. Being a loyal person will get you a lot further down the field. So we'll see you in the next lesson.